Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Waterbury Board of Education workshop at the Waterbury Arts Magnet School. We'll begin this evening, I believe we have a quorum, okay. I'll begin this evening with a moment of silence. Thank you. Commissioner Pagano, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Surely, I don't need a mic.
No, you don't need a mic.
You don't.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome back.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. It's a Catholic thing.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak who did not have an opportunity to sign up? Okay, seeing none, we'll go. Okay,
Okay.
please come up.
Where should I go?
Right there.
Right there, hon, where the microphone is. And just please state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Shiloh Trotman, and I am located at 265 Ridgefield Avenue in Waterbury, Connecticut.
Welcome.
Well, this is my first time speaking at a board meeting, so forgive me if I don't know the procedure, but I just had some concerns, and I don't know if this is the forum to bring them to, but I did file a written complaint against Generali School and Waterbury School District, and I had 4 glaring concerns. The first is that Generali has been functioning for the last 2 years that I know of without adequate programs in reading, writing, and math. And they use a foundational program for reading without the support of a reading program. They're like piecing it together, pulling things from one program, using books from another. And I did address the principal, and I did have a meeting about these concerns, but I wanted to bring it to the school board because they informed me that they're implementing new programs. And these programs are going to provide books, but I'm not sure if there's going to be books to go home for students to use. That's a key component for them to practice their strategies. I don't want to wait until school starts to see, because I've waited for 2 years and worked with my students at home to support their learning at home. So. That's what I'm concerned about. I haven't seen any books come home that my child has brought home to read from a reading program. So I'm really concerned about that. I have really good students, but they should be further than they are because they came in very prepared. Okay? My next concern is that there haven't really been trips in the schools. The trips that are allocated are only for certain grades, and I think that all the classes should have trips. And I was informed that teachers can't be forced to go on trips, and I don't understand that because it's part of their job responsibility as far as I'm concerned if it happens during the school day. And that was the explanation I was given. They can't force teachers to go on trips. There's a lot that parents can do to support that, but trips are very enriching and they're very educational, and we could be really creative in coming up with a list of trips that are available for students. I was never able to attend a trip with my students because they haven't really been on any, so I'm concerned about that. There aren't any music instruction for instruments going on at Generali right now, and I know that they're available at the magnet school, but I was told that because of scheduling, they don't have adequate music teachers, so I was wondering if they looked at using the magnet school teachers that are available right up the street from Generali to help with, providing this for the students at Generali as well. And lastly, I was informed that the school decided to have a PTO instead of a PTA, and they feel that the parents can't afford to pay $5. They don't want to put that burden on the parents. I have never been asked. And I think that parents are ready and willing to invest in their kids' education. And I think given a chance, if we get $5, $50, $500, you have something versus nothing. So we would like the opportunity to explore that. I don't know how I go about doing that, but I've shown my interest, and I was told that parents can't afford that. And that's, you're setting the bar low when you think like that. So those are the things that I was concerned about. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And did you sign the pink sheet with your contact information? Okay, thank
Should
you.
I sit here and do it?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Any other members of the public? Seeing none, we'll go to number 1, request approval of a college facility request reservation agreement with Naugatuck Valley Community College. Melissa Baldwin? Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners, President Brown, Superintendent Dr. Ruffin. I respectfully request that you approve a contract between the City of Waterbury and Naugatuck Valley Community College for the Waterbury Public Schools use of a room on campus for a Transition Learning Center program for our students with disabilities. No cost is associated with the contract, which covers the 2018-2019 school year. This program within the college campus enables the district to provide a unique transition learning program for our older students with disabilities. Transition services are required to be given to older students under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and this contract with NVC helps the district provide its students with a valuable transition opportunity. We have received a tax clearance.
Any questions? Is this something that is ongoing? This is a renewal of an existing contract?
So it's a year-to-year contract with Naugatuck Valley.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. You can, I guess, you're up for number 2 as well. Request approval of an agreement with Springfield College for social work internships.
The Department of Special Education requests your approval of a contract with Springfield College for the provision of graduate school social work interns to the Waterbury School District at no cost to the city. The agreement is for a 3-year term commencing August 1st, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2021. This is a contract that we have had in the past, and we've been very happy with the social work interns that have participated in the program.
Do we have this type of agreement with any other colleges?
We have a number of
That's what I thought.
we have a number of intern agreements, especially for social workers. We have one for psychs, and then I think we had one for school counselors as well.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Commissioner?
and speech and language pathologists. Sorry.
How many internships do we have aggregately?
We have approximately 10 every year for social workers. Speech and language, we had 2 this past year and 1 psych. And we had 1 guidance counselor, but I believe it was last year, not this year.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. And you're up again. Request approval of a professional services agreement with AAA Nursing Care LLC to provide nursing services.
The Department of Special Education requests your approval of a contract with AAA Nursing LLC for the provision of nursing services for the Waterbury Public Schools and students with disabilities in the total not to exceed $840,240 for a 3-year term as follows. August 1st to June 30th, 2019, not to exceed $280,080 at the hourly rate of $50 for an RN and $45 for an LPN. The rate is at the higher the rate is determined by the higher amount, just so you are aware. From July 1st to 2019 to June 30th, 2020, it's the same. And it's same for the last year, the price, from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. As the board knows, services required for students with disabilities under the federal law IDEA, are exempt from procurement rules under Waterbury Ordinance Section 38.029. However, the department elected to undertake the bidding process. 5 vendors submitted proposals. Our department formed a committee who reviewed the proposals and conducted interviews with the proposers. The committee consisted of special education supervisors Roberta Abell, Lisa Brown, and Shana Nath. Each member of the committee evaluated and scored each proposal. The committee looked at the vendor experience providing the services, their contract and PO experience, their capacity to provide therapists when requested, the qualifications and experience of the therapists they provide, billing procedures, billable time, and completeness of the bid responses. As required by purchasing procedures, the proposers were rated based on the proposals without the committee knowing the hourly rate for each service bid. AAA Nursing Care scored the best of any of the proposers for the nursing services requested. We then reviewed the hourly rates submitted by each proposer. They did not have the highest hourly rate, but agreed to reduce their rate even further to be competitive with the other proposers. It also kept its hourly rate the same for all 3 years of the contract. In the special education department's experience, finding a nurse can be very difficult. Because of this difficulty, the department decided to split the nursing services contract between 2 vendors, with the majority of the contract being awarded to AAA Nursing, but to enable the department to have a backup vendor, PSA, who we've used previously, to make the services that can be provided to our children.
Okay, I think we've been down this road before as well.
We have.
These are for our very needy children.
So
who
we're
need the
talking about
nursing services, yes.
9 children right now.
9 children, right. And they are out of district? Or some?
There's 5 that are currently in district. No, I'm sorry. There's 6 that are currently in district and 3 that are out of district.
Okay, any questions? Okay. All right, I think that's it, thank you.
One more. Sorry.
Oh, this one, okay, go ahead.
My apologies on the lateness of this contract. There was some confusion with the original rate and the contracted rate because it was negotiated. The Department of Special Education requests your approval of a contract with Constellation School-Based Therapy, LLC, for the provision of registered behavior technician services for the Waterbury School District and students with disabilities in the total not to exceed $815,810.45 for a 3-year term. For August 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019, the amount will not exceed $266,411.25 at the hourly rate of $38.25 for a registered behavior technician. From July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, amount not to exceed $271,774.30 at the hourly rate of $39.02. And for July 1st to June 30th, 2021, an amount not to exceed $277,624.90 at the hourly rate of $39.86. As the board knows, services required for the students with disability. I already said this. I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay.
7 vendors submitted proposals. Our department formed a committee who reviewed the proposals. The committee consisted of special education supervisors, Sharon Walsh and Monica O'Neill, and Rob Davis, our board-certified behavior analyst in district. Each member of the committee evaluated and scored each proposal, qualifications and experience of the therapist they provide, billing procedures, etc. As required by the purchasing procedures, the proposers were rated based on the proposals without the committee knowing of the hourly rates. Committee reviewed the hourly rates. Constellation did not have the highest hourly rate, but agreed to reduce the rate even further to be competitive with the other proposers. Tax clearance was obtained, and the contract is paid with general funds.
Commissioner Awad.
So is this the outcome of the RFP that resulted in a lot of debate during the budget year?
It is.
So could you explain to me how we're proceeding with this in light of the fact we didn't do what we said we were going to do, which was move all those people over to this company?
I can. We are not, all the current ABA therapists are remaining in their positions with supervision and evaluation by our BCBAs. If one of them leaves, and we currently have 2 openings or 3 openings, I would have to check, those positions will be filled by this company. We will continue to fill ABA therapist positions with outside providers.
So the dollar value per year is a theoretical dollar value
Right.
and a not to exceed dollar value based on our need for them as we may from time to time transition over to their services.
Correct.
So we're not going to run a budget deficit because we're entering into this. It's going to be a one-for-one replacement.
Right. So right now, the maximum is 5. We're not starting out with 5.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's clear because if somebody picked this up, they'd think we were doing this plus the other thing.
Right.
So that's why I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this is the outcome of what we talked about during the budget process. And at this point, now it's the ability to move to that,
Right.
not jump to it all at once. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. So you said this would be capped at 5 through this company?
So we currently have 2 openings. Those 2 openings will be filled with the outside provider constellation.
Okay, so we have 2
If we
starting
have
off at-
another opening, then it would be 3, and so on and so forth. I don't foresee us getting past 5 this year. If we did, I would have to have a conversation with Doreen Biolo and Mr. Brinker and Dr. Ruffin and determine if we want to increase the services or if we want to make some other option available. I don't believe we would go back to what we were doing, but I can't say for sure because...
Well, that's kind of where my question was heading, is if, as I recall, the plan was as attrition happened, we would backfill through services like these.
Correct.
But I wasn't sure if we're already capping ourselves at a potential 5 in a school year, are we potentially handcuffing ourselves? If an unforeseen, we need 8.
So if we need 8, then we would have, if we continue with Constellation and we're happy with their services, we'd have to go for an amendment. We can go up to the contract amount over the 3 years, but that is a conversation I would have with Dr. Ruffin and our cabinet before I would go ahead with even making that decision.
Certainly. Do you happen to recall, or do you know off the top of your head, if any conversation of that began with Constellation to say, listen, are you amenable if we need more, and we obviously pay for them, could we come back to the table, open this up, and amend it?
They would, yes.
All right. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think it's very important for us to do an evaluation as we do this. As you know, I feel strongly that the civil service process was working and that this is something that we could try if we feel as if we can get better services. But I expect an evaluation of the new hires as compared to the current ABA technicians, to be fair to the current workforce. As we move forward, I think we're down. I'm okay with moving down, but I want to see the comparison and if this really is a better way to go. I'm not convinced, and I think I want to make sure that the current workforce feels that they are respected and we appreciate the hard work that they do. And this is in no way diminishing our respect for them. So I'm in favor of this with that caveat, that this to me is an experiment, and I'm going to be looking very closely at it to see if there is a benefit to this. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam President, if I
Yeah.
might, I just want to remind us all why we did this. We did this to ensure continuity of service to the student. I don't think it was ever an indictment of the workforce. It was a concern about absenteeism, vacation time, personal family leave that those people needed that impacted the student. So I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we all remember why we did this. And we did it to make sure that every day, those students that needed someone with them had someone with them. And that's why we put this in place.
Commissioner Van Stone.
And I think President Brown's on the nose. I think that this new company, anyone that we bring in through these services, we need to track absenteeism. We need to track how well they're doing. And at the same time, I think we need to be able to clearly put that against our own people. So whatever we do for this outside company, I would expect, if we're not already, doing the exact same thing in-house. So we can either be proven right that this is a good way to go, proven wrong that it's not. But I think whatever we do, we need to make sure that we have all the data available on both sides of this coin. So when time comes to either renew or walk away from this, we have the ability to make that decision smartly.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Number 4, request approval of an agreement with Joseph Caiazzo, Abbey Vending, to provide messenger courier services.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to request a contract approval for messenger courier services. We sent out an invitation to bid. There were 2 responders. One is our current contractor, Joseph Caiazzo for Abbey Vending. The difference in price per day in the first year of the contract, the other company quoted a daily rate of $324.50. Mr. Caiazzo was $128. So there's a significant difference between the 2. We were satisfied with the performance throughout the past 3 years of the contract. There have been no issues. So we respectfully request that you approve this contract.
Could I ask what's the total amount of the contract?
Yes,
I forget.
$89,320. The prior 3 years were $71,000.
Okay. And what courier services, if you could explain, just because the public would like to know?
They make several runs during the day between the schools and the central office to pick up inter-office mail, U.S. mail that gets dropped at the post office. But they do circulate many times during the day. I hit all the schools.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Number 5, our stalwart advisory committee member, reappointment of Nancy Vaughn as the Department of Education's representative to the Greater Waterbury Cable Council. And we really appreciate your service, Nancy, and I think it's a life sentence at this point. But maybe you could just give us a snapshot of the work that you have been doing.
Well, the Cable Council serves as an advisory board to both Comcast and also to Sky Cable, who runs the public education government access portion of the services on Comcast. And at this point, we are trying maybe to help Comcast market some of what's going on in terms of use of the community channel in particular, but also the education channel and the government channel. This is not just Waterbury. The Greater Waterbury Cable Council also includes several other communities, and it has a representative also from Silas Bronson Library. So if a member of the community is having an issue with either Comcast or Sky, the Cable Council is someone they can turn to and have their concerns heard and possibly addressed. So that's basically what we try to do.
Okay, well, again, thank you very much for
Okay.
your service. I think you've been serving for, 10 years now?
It's been a while, yeah. Any other
Okay,
questions?
you're,
Okay.
you're irreplaceable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay. All right, number 6, Commissioner Sweeney, Education Bylaws, number 9010.
So the addition of this bylaw is the result of the request of some board members to look at the opportunity for conferencing in on committee meetings. So the committee, the policy committee had several conversations around this, and the addition of E under standing committees is the result of those conversations. So it's simple language. The board will allow electronic participation of members of standing committees and ad hoc committees in accordance with board policy number 9005, electronic participation. The reasoning behind the short bylaw was so that as technology changes or the board's appetite for this changes, the changes would be made within the policy and not have to be a bylaw change. So that is the first piece of it. The policy itself, as drafted by the policy committee, reads electronic participation. The board will allow committee members to participate in meetings of standing or ad hoc committees, except grievance committee, by video conferencing, utilizing board-issued devices at the discretion of the committee chair. Meetings in which board members participate electronically are subject to the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act. When a committee member participates electronically, the member will be considered present for purposes of a quorum. The meeting minutes will document when members participate electronically. Whenever possible, committee members wishing to participate in a meeting electronically will notify the committee chair and the clerk of the board at least one business day prior to the meeting date. The meeting will be visible and audible to the public at the location specified in the notice for the meeting. The identification of each party to the video conference shall be clearly noted. And again, there was several discussions at the policy committee level, to draft this language to make it flexible enough for participation while protecting the right of the public to see and hear everything that's going on at a committee meeting.
Question.
Commissioner Awad.
So you can only participate by video conference. Can you call in?
No, the committee discussed the option of calling in, and the majority of the committee felt that with the ability to do the video conferencing and the fact that the board has iPads, which Will Duda had said could be used for video conferencing, that was the direction that we wanted to
So if
go.
I'm in the car, I have to be on a video conference.
Correct.
So it defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do here because you're forcing us to video conference. It takes away the flexibility. It doesn't make it flexible. It makes this, are the new iPads going to have internet, or are you going to have to be in a Wi-Fi zone? Will the new iPads allow me to be in a remote location and access the internet without a Wi-Fi? Without like being here?
The new ones I purchased for you, no.
Right.
We'd have to buy ones with cellular access for
Right,
mobile
so
connectivity.
you have to be someplace where you have Wi-Fi. You have to be able to look at the screen. So it doesn't really create what we're trying to do here. It doesn't make it any easier. You can't be in the car, going someplace and be able to participate in a meeting, being verbally available. That defeats the purpose.
I think the purpose as brought to the committee was to give the ability to have someone video conference in to make a quorum if we're short a quorum. And that was the original concern that was brought forward, was that committees were not making quorum.
Commissioner Pagano.
Question, I thought I heard Will say that they will buy iPads with both Wi-Fi and LTE. Then who would pay for the service for LTE if you're actually gonna make it then available?
I would have to buy, I mean, the decision would be, if we have to, we will, yeah, we could purchase, and then we'd have to
That would be
do.
the only way to get what Kathy was trying to allude to, is for full unabated
Access to,
access.
right, correct.
Of which I hope none of us do it while we're driving.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Van Stone.
Just to flesh out a little bit, video conferencing, you be present and you be part of the quorum. We would still allow phone conversations and phone participation. So if you were driving in the car, you could have the same back and forth, but for the purposes of quorum, you would not be recognized as present. So you as a person could ask all the questions you would want, get all the answers you may need while driving, but for the record, officially, you were not there.
Could you explain to me what the difference is?
The difference at the level
'Cause
was
you
when
can
we...
see me?
The difference is, in a number of us has experienced this in real life when we have these conferences, just as often as not, oftentimes people on the other end of a phone conference are less engaged. Secondly, if you were part of the public coming to a meeting, should they ever come, we may be able to differentiate whose voices are who. But if we don't see a face and Commissioner Van Stone, Commissioner Watt underneath it, you may not. And given that we thought this was going to be the exception rather than the rule, we would all rather people be here in real life.
Absolutely.
That this was a pragmatic, yet safe, and since we have the technology, easy option. In the perfect world where someone's driving, you're right, that's a bad example of where you might be out of luck. But this video conference option solved 95% of the problems without adding any other ones on, where telephonic communications may have had that. So it's not the perfect answer, but one, I think it's a much better option than we have today. So if you are stuck at home or if you're stuck somewhere out other than in the car, you could easily flip on the iPad that we give you and be part of it just like anything else. Secondly, from a presentation standpoint, if in the committee level documents are being handed out or shown, you have them here on your screen, where if you were only on the phone call, you may not, unless you printed them out, or you had some other electronic device, you wouldn't be able to be that kind of participant in the meeting.
So may I?
Yes, go ahead.
So, two things. One is, again, we're assuming someone is where there's a Wi-Fi connection, because to Will's point, they don't have 4G LTE. And two, if you're handing out the document here, I'm still not going to be able to see it on a video conference because it's here, not on the iPad, unless somebody's going to do this and show it to me.
No, that's not how it works. If you dial into the meeting, you will have the opportunity, and maybe we should have let Will talk about this a little more, you would have the opportunity to share documents in the meeting.
Through the video conferencing.
Through
Yes,
the,
okay.
I don't know if it's the video conference or the software attached to it, or,
Allowing
but
it
yes.
to be seen? Okay, so I learned something. But again, we're assuming someone's where there's Wi-Fi, and I just struggle that it isn't the answer we're trying to get for participation. If we need a quorum, and whoever it is, whether it's me or somebody else, unless, it's just, I appreciate the work the committee did, it's not the answer. And I'll just.
Well, I think it might not be the perfect answer, but it is an answer. And secondly, half the committee didn't want to do any of this. So it could have just died there, but we brought something out that we think makes it better. It allows people to be present if there's something keeping them from being here. I would rather all of us be here in person every meeting. I think that's the best way to do that. I think as soon as we start allowing other opportunities, whether it be video or phone or carrier pigeon, it takes something away from each of the meetings. So one generation away from live participation is video conferencing. I could go that far. 2 generations, phone conferencing, and I've been in a million meetings where you can tell the person at the other end of the phone is doing 100 other things but caring about what you're talking about, was a little bit of a bridge too far for me personally.
Just to clarify, as far as the access to the documents, why can't they be scanned and sent? Is that the Wi-Fi issue
No,
again?
my point was, if you couldn't get online to your iPad to
I
see
see,
these,
okay.
because you're on the phone, you'd have still that same limitation to, unless you're on the phone and using your iPad at the same time, and then that makes the first problem moot, because then you're on your iPad anyway.
So if you are calling in, it cannot be counted as a quorum. You can participate, and you can't vote unless it's video conference.
Correct. If for some reason you found yourself in a spot where you couldn't make video work, you're in the car, what have you, but the information being shared, you wanted your voice heard, you could still have that opportunity. And you could still listen, obviously, to find out what you're missing. A lot of us do that on committees we're not on. I can't vote, I'm not in the quorum anyway, but I'd like to listen to see what happened and maybe ask a question. So it'd be very similar to that. So no one would ever be shut out. I don't want anyone to ever think that you could, if you can't get there or your iPad doesn't have a signal, you're done. You could always call in. So you're not missing the import of the meeting. But according to this policy, the only way you would be eligible to be counted as a quorum is if A, you were sitting there in a chair, or B, You were on the video con.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, Commissioner? Vice President Harvey.
Thank you. Will, can I call in using my, whatever this is?
iPad.
Thank you. Can I do that and just be the voice and just hear my voice, or do you have to?
Yes, you can turn off your
I can do
video,
that.
your camera,
All right.
correct?
So when I do that, would you know who I was if I did that? If I used my iPad?
Yes, because when you logged in, as long as you click on the link for the invitation, we'll know that it's you that's logged in and your name would show up. So when you would start speaking, then it would be a black screen, but your name would be there that you
But
were
my
speaking.
name would be, so
Correct.
you would know who I was?
Correct.
All right, so I just wanted to ask that. Secondly, because I've been to millions of meetings as well, phoning in, conferencing in, using the phone and using video. When you phone in, you just say who you are. If someone is in the audience, this is Commissioner Harvey speaking. So that would identify me. In addition, the guidelines state that, I don't have it up, because Will, you didn't bring up everything, but that's okay.
I'm getting blamed
But
already.
That's okay, that's all right. I won't hold you to that. But the guidelines state also that you have to call the clerk, which would be Carrie, and the chair. But if you are going to be at the meeting, you don't have to do that. So why is it that we have to do that? Why is there a difference with that, is my question.
Well, number one, because it affects quorum, and number two, we need to make sure that we have the facilities available and the chair is ready to make sure that they can receive that video conferencing.
Okay, so we're distinguishing between the use of video as opposed to someone being there physically. My question is, why is it and? You have to call, you have to notify the clerk and the chairperson, when we don't have to do that any other time if we're going to be present. Seems like we're kind of,
The clerk routinely.
oh, no, I know what the clerk routinely
The
does.
clerk
I'm just saying,
routinely
why is it and?
polls the committee to make sure that we have a quorum.
Right.
So if we don't have a quorum and we're thinking about not having the meeting, postponing the meeting, knowing that somebody is, who could not be there physically is ready to video conference in, would then stop that from happening. So we need to know when we have a quorum and when we don't.
Okay, so I'm saying we need to know that, but why do both people need to know that? If we go through the
The
clerk?
chair has to be prepared according to,
Communicate with each other.
it is at the discretion of the chair for the video conferencing to take place. That's in the policy.
Okay, so it looks like we're distinguishing between if you're going to be there physically, we're using one set of policies versus if you're going to be there electronically, we're using others.
Correct, because electronic participation is a different type of participation.
All right, well, you were saying it like matter-of-factly, but seems to me it's a little bit discriminating because someone is using something electronically, just saying. What is the definition of electronic participation? What is electronic? What is it?
Anything through computer, through the internet, through web services.
Could be a tablet, could be
Yep.
a telephone, right? It could
Okay,
be,
you
yeah,
just hit it right on the nose. So telephone, tablet,
a mobile telephone, I would say, not a
mobile
landline, right?
telephone,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
we don't, but telephone is an electronic.
yeah, because they're
Uh,
smartphones, and if you're
device.
using the device for audio, then
Okay,
yes.
so my point here is that we're calling this electronic participation when it's not really,
It's video.
it's video.
It's video.
So we should call it what it is. It's video participation, it's not electronic, because if it was electronic, then we would be using everything. We would be able to use the phone, we would be able to use the tablet, we would be able to use anything that's electronic. So I don't know if we should call this electronic participation.
If I may, the bylaw says electronic participation per policy 9005. 9005 therefore lays it out that it is by video conferencing utilizing board-issued devices at the discretion of the committee chair. That's the policy.
And is that a new policy, or is that the policy we're proposing?
That's the policy that is before you for consideration.
Okay, and I understand that, but what I'm saying to you is electronic participation, it is not electronic participation, it is video, because we're not using all of our electronic. If you look up electronic in the Webster Dictionary, it's going to tell you what it is, just as what we spelled out. So I'm challenging the use of that.
Electronic participation allows you to use the technology that the board deems appropriate. That is laid out in the policy itself, which the bylaw refers to, and the policy states that that participation is by video conferencing utilizing board-issued devices.
Will a demonstration clear a lot of things up?
Yeah, let's see.
I mean, if we go through a demonstration, you guys can see how it would work, the options you have for controlling the meeting, the settings that you have, and then, yes, sir.
Commissioner Pagano.
Two questions. 35 years in the video industry, video is electronic, so it's inferred in the definition, just to help clear.
Thank you.
Number two, who is going to be administering this system in real time?
The host.
The host.
I mean, that's something you guys have to work out. Probably the chairperson would have to be the host.
Will we have assistance as a hand-holding exercise initially? Because out of the systems I've ever used, they usually crap out within 5 minutes, and you need somebody to figure out.
Chuck, I will hold your hand.
Private network, and I'm not looking for part-time work either.
I will hold your hand, Mr. Pagano.
That
But
was,
yes, I'm assuming that, if we do move forward with this, that somebody's going to be there at least the first few meetings, make sure there's no hiccups. And if we need somebody there all the time, then I guess we'll make that adjustment to make sure that we don't have any issues. But
We're still not running the video cameras that are here. That's just case in point. Thank you.
and that's why, if I
Commissioner
may,
Van Stone.
Madam President, that's why we added the at the discretion of the committee chair, because if it does become onerous, and the chair's like, I just don't want to do this on my committee. I'm sitting here all day trying to make the computer work.
Is there a value to this, or is it just making it?
Yeah, so that's why we left that out, where if there was one committee chair in the room who was adamant against ever coming towards this, and it's completely understandable, and if that's their committee and that's how they want to run it, they should be given that leeway. But that's right, we don't want this to create 50 new problems when we're half solving one.
I think we'll demonstrate, and then we'll continue our discussion, because now I have lots of questions. So let's,
I'll make myself comfortable.
Give us a demonstration.
So traditionally, if you're going to set up a meeting, traditionally you want to do is you want to set the meeting up through Outlook. So Carrie would schedule the meeting, send out an invitation into your calendar, and there will be a link there that would provide you with all the information about the meeting. The meeting ID number, if there's a password required, and so you would pretty much click on the link, and it would launch the application, the Zoom application. There might be some application that would have to be installed on your local We can't limit it to a district iPad. People can connect from a tablet, they can connect from a phone, they can connect from a PC. There's multitude of ways of being able to connect. There's no way to limit that it has to be a board-issue device to connect. And we will never know that, and there's no way to police that or control that. So an invitation would go out. So if you can see the screen, you would just come on up here, and she would just come up here, schedule a meeting. You would just download a little program, add it into your Outlook, and in there you would be able to control the settings. And from there, the settings, we could either save them so once they're set, you don't have to worry about it. But there you would be able to control, the host would be able to control the video. So when they launch the meeting, the video automatically starts. And then the participants, either the video on or off, and they would have to turn it on or off to be able to join. The host also has complete control. They can turn somebody's video off or leave it on. So the host is pretty much primary controlling of the video. Then you have the options for the audio. They can do a telephone, they can do computer audio, or telephone and computer audio. So if they have a laptop that doesn't have a built-in microphone, they can use the laptop for the video, but they can use a telephone for the conversation. Or if they're in a poor cell service area and they want to, for clarity, they want to use a landline, they could use a landline for the audio portion of it. And then you can do a meeting password. So if people are forwarding this out to other people, you don't want anybody in the public joining this, you just want the board members, you can put a password in there, so they would need a password to connect. And there's also something called a waiting room. So if somebody connects prior to, they would be put on hold until the host, which would be the chairperson, allows them into the meeting, and then the meeting starts.
You said Zoom is a provider?
Zoom, correct, Zoom.us. And then in here, you would just put the participants' names too, so you would put all their email addresses, call the subject, and you would just send it out. And everybody would get something into their calendar knowing that we're having this Zoom meeting and it's available if you're at a certain time on a certain date, and they would connect to it from any device that pretty much provides them access. Or they can just call in. So if they wanted just to call in and not do a laptop or a tablet, they can just dial in the phone number because the phone number will be provided to them.
Will, if I may?
Yes, sir.
In practical matter, this portion of the meeting would probably be set up by the clerk, correct?
Probably. Who schedules the meetings now?
Gary.
I think Carrie would probably, yeah.
Okay. Because I don't want to lose people here at this, which is probably the most cumbersome part of it.
Correct.
Secondly, I would caution commissioners, don't start creating your own meetings and don't tell anybody. Because if we create one of these things and 4 of you log on, all of a sudden we're having an illegal meeting. So I would advise all of you to forget everything just Will said. And let Carrie handle creating. Yeah.
Right, because if you create your own meetings and they're scheduled at the same time, they're different meeting IDs, and then what happened, you would connect and you wouldn't see anybody.
Yeah.
So you would have 2 meetings going on simultaneously that are mutually exclusive of each other, and nobody would be able to see each other or talk to each other.
Yeah, so I would
Okay.
use Carrie as a central gatekeeper for.
Yes, go ahead, Carrie, go ahead. Okay. So pretty much that's how you would schedule these meetings and provide access to these meetings. So this is pretty much, you would have to find a location that would pretty much have a video camera and a TV probably, or a smart board, something that people in the room would be able to see the participants. So as you're dialing in, this is what they would see, and then if somebody spoke, their camera would show up first, they would dominate the screen, and then they would be the primary person having the conversation. So as people speak, the software automatically switches between whichever mic is active. So based on the mic that's active, their face would be up there. They would always see the room, who's in the room, but you would see the person with the active mic. Like I said, the host can turn off the audio or the video. A host can disconnect somebody. So if they want to disconnect somebody, the host has the option of disconnecting somebody so if somebody called in and they shouldn't be on it, say for some reason it was forwarded over, they can disconnect that person from the meeting. So that's one option. Devices that can connect to it, like I said, a PC, a laptop, a mobile phone, a smartphone, a tablet, or a landline can connect just with no video. You could share your screen. So we're talking about, the way this would work is the host would pretty much share the screen, and then in the corner here there would be a small video of the room and the committee meeting, but they would share the screen, and you could have a work area. You could share an app, like if you're showing something on Internet Explorer, you can just share that app. If you're showing a PDF document, you can just share the PDF document. Or you can do a workspace where people can type in and work collaboratively on different projects. So it gives you a lot of options to do a lot of things. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's that simple. They connect, they see the room, and you see them as they connect. Or if they don't have a video turned on, there'll just be a little box. It'll end up looking like the Brady Bunch. So you can have up to 25 cameras connect at once. So you have a bunch of little boxes, a bunch of little videos, and the screen that pops up would be the person who's active mic. You could record if you wanted to. You can do transcripts if you wanted to. So these are a lot of options that are available to you guys if you wanted to. You can see who's recording. You can locally record if you wanted to. So if somebody participates in and they want to record, they have the option of recording. The committee will see that they're recording. I'm just letting everybody know what the functions of it. You will see who's recording, and you can, the host, committee host can stop it or allow it. Okay? And
So
that,
yes,
go ahead.
In practical terms, I'm home, I have my computer, and I have my iPad.
Yes.
What equipment would I need to have on my computer or iPad?
If your iPad comes in with a built-in mic and a camera, so you're fine.
So
right?
the iPad that I have now, that's
Correct.
issued,
Correct.
and if I wanted to use my computer,
You would have to make sure that you have a mic and a camera if you wanted the video. If you don't have a mic or a camera, you'd have to get a USB camera, or you'd have to dial in.
so our iPads are equipped right now.
Your iPad's right. Only thing you would have to do is we'd have to download the application onto your iPad, which I could work with you guys. We can set all that up. Yeah, I have the new ones. I'm just going to order cases, but we might have to switch out the direction here. It depends on what you guys decide as far as mobile access. So I'll wait to hear from you guys.
Okay. Any questions? So I just, in terms of the actual policy, I don't think I'm not understanding why it's the discretion of the chair. I really feel that if we're going to do it, everybody has to do it. It can't be, I don't want to do it. I really feel that we either we're all going to do it, or, because I think that's going to present a problem. Because to me, part of why I'm in favor of trying to accommodate people is because there are real times when people are out of state, or we have people with physical problems, and this isn't just I think we have to accommodate people and their schedules in a fair way. So I would not be in favor of the discretion of the chair. That to me would defeat the purpose. And secondly, board issue. I'm not sure we should put that language in, because that really, what if we're someplace and we don't have our iPad? I can't use my computer. So I'm just concerned about the restriction of that. And let me just finish. And I'm still not convinced personally that we need video. I think we're making it too complicated. We only have to provide minutes of our meetings. Right now, we do not tape our committee meetings. We write minutes of the meetings for the public. We do tape the workshop meetings, and we do tape our full board meetings. So I'm not sure of why they would have to be videotaped. I feel a call-in would be sufficient as far as I'm concerned, only because of that reason, because we're not doing transcripts of committee meetings. We only are doing minutes. So I don't see the need for that blow-by-blow kind of experience. So I guess that those are just some issues that I'm thinking. Commissioner Pagano.
I think your comments are all well-founded, and I would recommend, after someone who's been through this a multitude of times, not do everybody at the same time, do baby steps, select a pilot group to start the embryonic flow going and getting people used to it, and there will be learning so that others, if they want to join in, will gather in. But take baby steps, don't do the whole thing as all committees, but just try and see where it goes. It's a solution in search of a problem. We may not even be knowing what the whole total problem is yet.
Any other comments, Commissioner?
Yeah,
Harvey?
I'm in agreement with that. I believe, yeah, I'm with you, Commissioner Pagano. Baby steps. If that would make people feel comfortable. I mean, I'm ready to go with this. But I just wanted to emphasize that to the public, that we anticipate being at our meetings, our committee
Right.
meetings. We do not anticipate using this all the time. It's just that, when you cannot be at a meeting, inclement weather, you're out of town, but you want to participate in the committee. It's a committee meeting. It's not a regular meeting. It's not executive session.
Right.
It's not for grievance committees, okay? So in the case that you cannot be at the meeting, you want to participate. You want to uphold your responsibility as a commissioner and participate in the meeting. Now, personally, I've used it, we've used it, phoning in, and being on a job where you can phone in, identify yourself in a meeting at a business, and they identify there's no issues there, then you use it here, and you're not there. You're there, you're asking questions, but you're not considered there. And I just find that a little bit disheartening. We're elected officials. Maybe we couldn't be at the meeting physically, but we are there. So I have issues with electronically, Commissioner O'Donnell, leaving out. I'm okay with the video, but I feel the phone is also an electronic device as well. So I just wanted to emphasize again that this is not something that a commissioner is going to use all the time. It's just in the case where there's circumstances that the commissioner cannot be present. And this is not for our regular meetings. This is not for grievance committees. It is during the situations where we cannot be present. So I don't look at this as a penalty. Others see this as, well, the reason why you're not at the meeting because you want to dress in your pajamas and not let anyone see you. I mean, that's not the case. It's that there are circumstances in which some commissioners cannot be there. All right, so we want to have the alternative. And lastly, I think we're spending a lot more time on this than we should be spending on it. I would rather we spend it on some other things. So I hope we get through this, vote on it, and just move forward, and let's go with this thing. Thank you.
So, Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you. You had asked some questions earlier, and I was going to try to answer those. The rationale for deference to the chairman on whether or not this is allowed was in answer to the potential question of abuse. If someone, and no one ever thinks it's going to happen, but just realizes how easy it is to start video conferencing in, and we don't see them forever, the opportunity for the chairman to say, we're going live from now on in person was one way to combat that. Secondly, that person's going to be all of a sudden have to become the IT guy in the room, and not everyone is excited about that, and understandably. And you wouldn't want someone who really liked being a committee chair other than the fact, I'm not great with an iPad. I don't think that's fair to that person. So that's why the chairmanship rules kind of came around. As far as this being easy or difficult, clicking one link on an email is easier than dialing your 9 telephone numbers. So this is no harder. And the upsides that Will illuminated with the screen sharing, with the document sharing, with the ability to kind of control the room and always know what's happening is a much greater upside than any potential downside to the phone. And lastly, to Chuck's point about this being a solution in search of a problem, he's 100% right. I've been on this board now for, I think, 9 years, and I think this would have bailed me out twice. You know, if there's a reason I'm not going to be here, it's probably because I'm not going to be here. I'm still not going to be available to an iPad or a phone or a telegraph or anything. And that happens sometimes, except for Karen, who has missed one meeting in a decade. So the consternation about the fine details, kind of I'm missing it. We have a very easy way to do this right now. So we are way behind the times for electronic or videographic conferencing. But rather than jump to 1988 where we can do a phone, why not jump to 2012 where we can do video conferencing, since we all have the technology?
Commissioner Sweeney.
Yeah. This has been brought up before that telephone conferencing is something that we do in business, and it is. However, business does not have a commitment and a responsibility to the public for open access to their meetings. And we are required by law to provide that open access. And video just provides the public with an extra step of open access that is available to us technologically now. So that conversation also took place at the committee meetings and makes perfect sense. In terms of, the committee chair being comfortable, I think we have vice chairs they can help out. Maybe you have a vice chair who's comfortable with running the meeting. That can be done. We have solutions for that. But, you know, it makes sense for the committee chair to be aware that people are willing to video conference in, and to be able to make a determination as to if that's going to work for this particular meeting. There may be times when we are in buildings where it doesn't work, where we don't have on our side the receptors for that. The superintendent's conference room, as we spoke with Will, is all set up for it. We're good with that. But we've had committee meetings at Wendell Cross. We've had committee meetings at Jonathan Reed. So sometimes it may not be possible to do that. In recent history, we have had a few meetings where we could not pull a quorum. It's happened. But I agree with Jason, in the big scheme of things, I don't think that it's something that people have to take advantage of on a regular basis. I don't think they'll need to. Our people are very good about getting to the table and getting to the room when there's a committee meeting. So I think it remains to be seen, but I think it will be used less than more.
Commissioner Van Stone, then Commissioner Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam President. I know we call ourselves the center of the universe, but if I had committee meetings next week, I will be logging probably close to 10,000 miles for business as well as multiple countries. So yes, there is good reason for me to do this. As far as the city-issued iPad, et cetera, if I remember correctly, we were concerned, and maybe we could reach out for guidance. We're also concerned about opening up our personal devices to freedom of information. And I think that was the reason why we tried to stipulate city-issued devices. So just those 2 points. Thank you.
Commissioner Hernandez.
And as far as it being at the discretion of the chair, I chair the grievance committee, and I just did not feel that video conferencing grievances was the appropriate thing to do. And like Tom said, we were concerned about the Freedom of Information Act. If I'm using my personal iPad, I'm open for whatever. So I was that commissioner who just was adamant about not video conferencing my committee. I don't think anyone else had any issues with their committees being video conference, but I had some concerns about that as the chair of the grievance committee.
And that's in the language to exempt the grievance committee.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, specifically.
Any other discussion points? Okay. Will, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think I'd like to revisit this and look at the language to make sure that it's reflective of this conversation, and maybe not rush into anything right now. I think we need to try it out a little bit. I'm not sure we're ready to vote on a policy at this point, because the language does not reflect this discussion. The language is much more restrictive. It says it is the discretion of the chair. It doesn't say anything about a vice chair. I think we have to look at the language and make sure it reflects the conversation. And I think I don't think we're ready to vote on this as a policy. I don't know what everybody else feels. Commissioner Sweeney.
Madam Chair, I have had numerous emails over the month berating us for not doing something here. So we made a concerted effort, the last two policy committees, to draft something to put forward. The majority voted to put this forward, and I think it's time. When I mentioned the vice chair, I never said that the vice chair would have the discretion. I said that if the chairman was not comfortable and wanted to turn the operation of the video conference over to a vice chair or someone else on that committee who was more comfortable, I don't see anything that disallows that. That could happen. So I did not say that a vice chair
Well,
would have the discretion for the video conference. That decision would still be left with the chair.
Understand.
But at this point in time, I'm ready to put this to a vote.
All right, then we'll move it forward and see what happens. Commissioner Pagano?
I concur with Commissioner Sweeney has just said. It's just a policy.
Right.
It's a living, breathing portion of a document that can be modified as we learn things going down the pipeline. We probably will not hit a home run coming out of the gate, but it's going to be a learning opportunity. Then we revisit it in 6 months and figure out what do we get right and what do we get wrong and go from there. But I think overall, it's a good experiment to try to figure out, are we going to be getting more quorums to the committees? And is this bringing value to our
Right.
weekly life? It may not, it may, who knows? But we're going to find out as a function of time.
Okay. Any other comments? Commissioner Harvey?
Yes, Madam Chair, it would be nice to know who our vice chairs are now that we've brought that subject up, who the vice chairs are to our committees, so that we know.
It's on the list.
Is it on the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the list.
It's in our, okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's vote.
No, it's got to move to the.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
We'll just
Let's
move
do
it.
it.
Well, again, no, it's a legitimate question that came up. So the clerk has asked, should at least someone be there? A couple of things that were conversed at the committee level. Number one, that chairs adamantly did not want to be the only one in the room with everybody else on there. And certainly somebody has got to be in the room to at least run the video conference. So again, at the discretion of the chair. So the chair looks at the responses for the committee meeting and finds out that 4 out of 5 people are asking the video conference. The chair can say, hey, okay, postpone it until I have something closer to a quorum physically present, or the chair can say, hey, somebody needs to back out and be here. So again, discretion of the chair.
Okay. All right. That will go to the, thank you, Will.
Thank you. I have another one
I
off there.
guess you're going to be doing giving us some trainings. All right, next, I think we covered all that, right, Commissioner? We're done with
Correct.
6, 7, 8, so now we're down to the school calendar. Chief Academic Officer Schwartz and Will Zuda is still up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we made that one change, guys.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Coming back amazingly one more time for the school calendar, but for good reason. We, in discussion with our new superintendent, Dr. Ruffin, we have a professional development day we originally put on the calendar for October 5th, which is the Friday before Columbus Day. We were looking to do a convocation this year because August wasn't, the Palace wasn't available. October 5th, the Palace wasn't available, but October 9th, the Palace is available. So we are coming to ask for your permission to move the Professional Development Day from October 5th to October 9th. So that morning, Dr. Ruffin can address her staff at the Palace through a convocation in the morning. Not through a video conference. She will be there live in person.
We will allow video, though.
Teachers have to be there in person, too.
Okay, any comments? Okay, all right, thank you. Next is discussion district technology plan.
Bring this closer. Good evening, Commissioners. Dr. Ruffin. I'm here tonight to provide you with an update regarding our technology plan. Last time I was here, you asked that I include community members, parents, and students to the committee. I'd just like to let you guys know that we have added 3 parents, 2 community members, and a student group. Paul White met with high school students, created a focus group, and that group reviewed the plan, recommended modifications and additions. The committee as a whole met on February 16, 2018, and again on June 6, 2018. We met to review objectives and key results. We set future date meetings. We discussed how to measure progress towards those objectives and key results. We discussed how to measure success of those objectives and key results. And we discussed how to keep moving forward with our objectives and key results. And if any changes or additions or deletions are made to the document, a revised copy will be brought forward to you.
One of the things that's important that we talk about also is with the new superintendent coming on, there was discussion at the last meeting about having more of an executive committee at the technology plan. So letting some of the internal members that have to do some of the work do that work in smaller pieces. The tech plan is split up into goals, and so let some of the work happen within those goals, and then let those leaders of those goals come to the larger meeting, executive meeting, and discuss that with the community members, the parents, so that they're not mired into some of the minutia of the work, but more hearing about the key strategies, what the district's doing to achieve those goals, and to offer some support and assistance and some larger picture planning at that executive meeting. But that is something that we have just recently done in our last meeting in June, and that we want to talk to Dr. Ruffin about in terms of establishing and including her in the tech plan and the history there. And so that was a big discussion that happened at the last meeting is this idea of how deep in the weeds do we want to go with the larger committee members, and instead breaking up those goals and really having someone lead those goals and then reporting out to the larger executive committee was something that many of the members thought would be more fruitful and actually a better use of time.
Okay. And the completed document is where? Do we have the completed document?
Yeah, you already approved the completed document. Any changes that come out of committees,
I see,
we will
okay.
move forward if there are any changes.
So
Okay.
we're building on the one we have.
Correct, right. It's a living document that, as we meet quarterly and we recommend any changes, or we as we're making progress and we need to change those goals and objectives, we will bring that forward to you, let you know what changes we're making.
Okay, and I guess as we look at our strategic planning for the district, how we can more kind of incorporate the technology plan in our vision for teaching and learning and instruction, and how that's all linked together. I mean,
Absolutely, and there were also some personnel changes who were leading some of the goals, and so reestablishing who's in charge of those is key.
okay, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11, school facility status for new school year. Number 12, use of school facilities by school organizations and/or city departments. Number 11, Mr. Brenker. School facility status. All right.
Thank you. In your packet, you received the list of the schools and the percentage done. Just a few comments. Carrington at 50% is because of the use of summer school. Enlightenment and State Street, because we shifted locations, but they'll be done on time. Gilmartin only shows 10% done because they've used every room this year for summer school. Rotella, we installed new tile, so that just was completed. Now they're updating the chillers under the Alliance grant, but they're on target. And at Tinker, 60%, we had a workers' comp issue, so we're short one maintainer, but they'll all be finished on time, ahead of time. Once the schools are done, then those maintainers will be assigned to the other schools so that we don't incur overtime, that we don't need to, and that we get everything done quickly.
Okay. Anything else, any troubleshooting, anything that should be done that's not getting done, or you're pretty,
No.
we're on target?
We are doing the stairs at Wilson. We had been like patching them for years and the concrete just cracked, so they're installing new stairs. And then we'll move on to the tile at Walsh once the summer school program is finished, and install as much vinyl composite tile, replacing the asbestos tile that does exist there. Just little things here and there, nothing significant.
Commissioner Van Stone.
I understand why we're behind schedule. Gilmartin, any concern we're not going to get to 100%?
No, none at all. We're so close with the other schools, Commissioner, that we will reassign them and we'll be fine.
Okay, I think, all right, thank you. So number 12, use of school facilities by, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, sorry.
Yes, Commissioner Van Stone, that was my question.
She's there teaching.
Wash, playground.
I checked today and they're getting the information from the contractor. I'll have it tomorrow morning.
Okay,
I did ask today.
thank you.
You're welcome. I'll call you in the
I
morning.
did call Bob and tried to find out what was going on with Walsh's playground, because when I first got over there, they were like on it, doing it. I seen him every day. And then the last 2 weeks, I haven't seen him at all. So I did call him today to ask what was the holdup at Walsh.
Okay.
So he's going
What I
to
tried to find out today was if they ordered the playground itself, and what date did they order it, when it's due in. Because it shouldn't take long once it gets here to assemble it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that similar to the Chase School?
The
Playground?
difference in they're all similar. The only difference in Walsh is because of the feral cat population. We put down a plasticized base, so it can be cleaned easier each night.
Because of the
You
I don't
said
know how else
feral
to say it.
cat?
It's true.
Because of the what?
You said the
Feral
feral
cat
cat.
population.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They use that
everywhere.
for a site where, I don't want to say a lot more, but you know what I mean. So it's easier to clean off. It did cost a bit more, and it'll take a little bit more to put in, but that's
think
the
the
difference in the
playground
three.
is a little
We
box.
did move Generali away from its current location closer to the school and away from the wetlands that are in the back. So that, there's a physical change there. In Chase, we had to dig up the paving that we did last year to put this in. But it'll be all set.
Question on-
Commissioner?
Yes, question on Chase. Are we putting the playground back in the same spot that,
No.
No.
where are we moving it?
If you were to drive in the back of
Yeah.
Chase off of
Back
Whittick
corner,
Road,
the back
Right.
corner.
just drive around the portable, you'd be
Yep.
facing right there,
Good, okay,
away from the street.
good.
Thank God, because we have two fences knocked down anyway.
Yes, okay.
The-
Thank
The
you.
other one couldn't go back because of drainage when we did the
Okay.
paving.
All right, that's good.
And I don't know if you have this information, but we had talked last year and at several facility committee meetings about the status of painting the inside of these buildings. You know, Kingsbury, Chase, they haven't been painted in many years, so I'm not sure if that got on the list this summer.
We paint all summer. They're painting, but I'll get a list of the painting and submit it through the superintendent.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Kingsbury.
Okay. All set, thank you. All right, 14, superintendent's
Excuse
notification
me,
to
can we go
the...
back to 13 for a minute?
13.
Sure.
Me too.
You got a numbers problem tonight, huh?
I guess I do.
So we're good with 12?
Yep, I'm good with 12.
Use of school facilities by school organizations and/or city departments, yep. Any
I don't have
questions
anything
on that list?
Because that's the schools.
Okay, 13, use
13,
of school facilities by outside
Right,
organizations.
that I had a question on, and I know that I've been working offline with Mr. Branker, but I just have a question to put on the record, is that, are we sure that we're securing insurance certificates from all of these outside organizations that are using the facilities so that we're protected before we allow them in the building?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 14,
No,
oh, no, Commissioner Sweeney.
13. So on 13, on the Valley Cordsman at Rotella, I think that there's some more fee breakdown that I can't read.
It
on
is,
that.
right.
Okay, so if I could just get a clear copy, I don't care if you email it or whatever, but
We'll send it
I'd
out
like to
tomorrow to
see
each of
that.
you, right?
Yep. And we have a disclaimer that people are supposed to initial. It's midway through. It's not initialed on the Waterbury Knights at Career Academy, and it's not initialed by South Main Home on Kingsbury.
Thank you.
So,
Commissioner Vanstone?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted on the record that I have no comments on the facilities from outside organizations. I'm not sure what I started about 3 years ago, but
All right, well, thank you for that comment. All right. Okay, 14, superintendent's notification to the board
14,
and
14. Question.
Commissioner,
Bob,
what?
the teacher new hires, I see we have a math teacher. Let's see, where did I see it? Going into West Side Middle School. Did we have a deficit there?
Yes. Last year, early in the school year, we had a teacher that was terminated because of activity in New York State.
Okay.
The police chief in Westchester County called our police chief, who called me, and we investigated, and he was terminated.
Got it. All right, so does that fill the gap, or are we
Yes.
still short? Okay.
Right. We're not finished hiring. As you know, we continue, and the teachers aren't finished leaving.
Right.
So,
Okay. All right, thank you, Bob. I just want to mention also, I think the orientation for new teachers, August 21st?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Everybody will get an invitation. We hope that you all can make it, or
Great.
use video to attend.
Yeah, video. Thank you, Bob.
Commissioner Watt?
Yeah, that was my question too, as we continue to see the resignations come in.
Right.
Some as late as the day before yesterday. What's the impact and the likelihood of us being able to staff up in time to make sure that all the classrooms are manned, that we're not using multiple subs, that the kids on the first day have a face that they're gonna see on the 5th day, the 25th day, and the 95th day? Because last year I recall that there was an awful lot of transition in these classrooms as we tried to fill the slots.
Last year, we were more fortunate than the year before. The year before was my first year, and we got to the beginning of August, and I felt really confident. It was great. And then we had the August deluge, the tidal wave of resignations, because our teachers were then getting accepted into other jobs, so they would leave. Last year, with the change in the state budget, there were not that many opportunities for them to leave, so we were more stable. This year, I don't know where we're going to stand between the two. We do have a lot of candidates. We have great cooperation between the departments, between Johanna Hayes, Lisa Dunn. People work closely together. So we're getting candidates. We've had candidates in all week, maybe 5 or 6 every day, interviewing, making job offers. So I plan that will be done, but I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this month.
Would it be inappropriate for you to give us a snapshot, not at the next meeting, but at the next workshop, as to where each building is for vacancies, so that we can have a better understanding if we were to start to get calls about my child has had a different substitute the first 4 days of school type thing?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. We do have executive session. If you wanna-
Motion to convene into executive session for discussion concerning the appointment, employment, performance evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee.
Will?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.